your internship. I want to talk to you about your career journey, and congratulations on your new job. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. How did you get to that point at Conn? Like, what were the highs and lows of your career journey at school? Did they prepare you well for this, do you believe?
Yeah. So honestly, I would say that my career journey is a little bit jumbled. For a really long time, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I couldn't even decide what I wanted to major in. In terms of major, I loved economics and I loved psychology, and I was going to double major in those two. But then I started getting into sociology, and I wanted to add that in the mix, so I chose the economics major with the two minors. So that was even a difficult decision for me. But then as I became an economics major and was getting really into my higher level econ courses, I was sort of struggling a bit because I knew I didn't really want to go the finance route just because I didn't think that was for me. So for a bit there, I did have a little bit of trouble figuring out what I wanted to do, but I would say that at Conn, our career office is so great, and every step of the way, every time I would sort of start to get a little stressed out about it, I would just make an appointment with my advisor, and she was beyond helpful in terms of telling me where to look up resources and who to talk to and who to connect with and all stuff like that. That was really beneficial. And then the summer going into my senior year, I had the opportunity to intern for a small startup in New York City doing brand and content marketing for them. They're called Longev. And that was a really great experience as well. And so I sort of crafted what I wanted to do based off of all these things that I was sort of experiencing. Like I knew after my internship with a very small company that I maybe wanted to work for a little bit of a bigger company. And then as much as I did enjoy my internship, I knew that marketing might not be the right spot for me. So I would say it was definitely took me some time to figure it out, but I wanted to make sure that as I was applying to jobs, I really sort of had a better idea of what I wanted to do. So I didn't necessarily rush my search or anything like that. But I would say I knew I wanted to go into the business world, and I sort of became interested in sales as I was doing research, but didn't know if it was something that I would really be interested in. But then this is going to sound silly, but as my swimming career sort of ended, I realized how much of a competitive outlet that was for me. And so I love, talking to people and being around people and all these things. So it sort of fell into place, the sales aspect, and I decided that that was definitely what I wanted to do. And I'm doing a position in the tech industry, and tech has always been so interesting to me, and I love learning new things. So I felt like it was a great fit in terms of tech sales, because there's always, new things to learn, and it's always evolving and adapting. And in sales, you're always talking to people and convincing people. And I just love that whole healthy but competitive drive behind it. So I would say it definitely was a long process for me, but Conn totally prepared me in terms of the liberal arts education covers all the bases. You have all the academic opportunities in the world. And then more specific to career, whenever I had an issue, there were so many people there that were willing to help and support me. And even just other peers who might not really be in the same field, but are willing to help read over your resume or really anything like that. I would say Conn totally supported me throughout the whole journey, but eventually I landed in the right spot, and I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, I could tell already that you're going to be great in sales, because you are so upbeat, so positive, and that's what it takes, to be successful in anything really, but specifically in sales, because you're going to get a lot of rejection. And I love how you align the competitive part of yourself with that. That is a key, aha insight moment, and that's amazing. And it will evolve. Your career will change and evolve as you do. And I love how you described it. It didn't just happen, because that's not really what happens. You learn as you go sometimes. So
right,
that's
exactly.
and that sounds like what you did. And that's pretty much how it is, most of your life, unless you're like a doctor or a lawyer, it's a little different. But in business, which is
Right.
I can attest to since I'm in business, there's so many different things. So that's cool. That's so cool. Okay. So all these things that motivate you and inspire you that we've talked about, but how do you stay like centered? You know, is there anything that you follow, a mentor, or is there any inspiration on social media or anything like that that you kind of like look to kind of refuel yourself?
Sure. I would say honestly, like in general, I like to sort of take my mind off things. So whether it be, I love being outside. So whether it be, swimming outside when it's nice out, or just like going for a jog or riding bikes, or even, reading a book outside is really the first thing that I would say helps me keep centered. But then outside of that, like I follow a few Instagram accounts that I really just like to look at. One of them is Tank's Good News. He like only shares good news stories because he believes that, there's so much negative news out there. So that's something that really I enjoy looking at, especially when I feel like I've had a particularly tough day. I also like Feminist Voice. They share a lot of really great news stories about, feminist women and sort of stories that are coming out, as well as just general quotes or fun photos, stuff like that. And then I also like Girls Talk, which is sort of similar. I would say that those are sort of the three social media accounts that I like to look to stay centered in that regard. But
cool. Yeah. I'll have to check those out for sure. Okay. We have to wrap up in a couple minutes. The one question I always like to ask my guests is, what advice would you offer the girls on the rise?
Sure. I would say two things. The first I would say would be to push yourself out of your comfort zone a bit. I definitely struggled to do that, especially my first year in college. But then as I began to do that sophomore and junior year, there's so many things and incredible opportunities out there for you that you might not, you might be a little hesitant or might not know exist. But if you really push yourself out of your comfort zone to find them, it can really pay off. And then my second one would just be self-care. There's a lot of tough things going on, and especially in the news and in the media, and it can be sort of tough at times, but I think if you take care of yourself, and everyone has different ways of doing that, it can really pay off and make sure that you keep doing the great work that you're doing.
So would self-care be, in your opinion, it would be kind of doing what you said with the books, staying centered, getting inspired that way? Or is it? Do you think of it in other ways?
I mean, I think it definitely differs for the person. For me, it's definitely what I said about staying centered in terms of like reading and going outside and stuff like that. But it can be different for everyone. Whatever you think works for you. That I would just say anything that you find that helps you relax and continue to be motivated is great.
Me time. Hard to find me time in college.
Exactly.
There's so many people always around, no matter what. So it's really, really hard. Is there anything that really scares you after you launched, after you graduated? Is there anything like that really scares you about life on the coming, or are you just super excited about it and you're just going to like crush it?
Honestly, like I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily scared of anything. I think if anything, I'm looking forward to things. I think the only thing that I would say that maybe isn't necessarily scary, but is just sort of a strange feeling is, not going back to school and having so many changes and, not necessarily knowing when I'll go back to school, if I do, or, how, and, starting a new job, all of that. I wouldn't say it's scary. It's more, I see it more as exciting, but and sometimes I do find myself getting a little anxious or nervous about it, for sure.
It's such a difference. Yeah, not having all those people around to talk to. On the one hand, it's like a lot, but on the other hand, it's like always having people to support you. It's an unbelievable feeling.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you have to try to find that again, like find your tribe again, like in the real world. And it will happen for sure. But yeah. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us and to share your story and inspire others, because you will, with your life. And just in case any of the listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been great. I would say my email is probably best. It's Haskell, Haskell 97 at Gmail.
Okay. Excellent.
Perfect.
Olivia, thanks again. And please give my best to your parents.
Thank you. Of course, I will. And you to Mark, please.
I will. He's out in LA, so I'll definitely give him a shout out. And have a great summer and good luck with all of your new adventures.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, listeners, we're out. Thanks again for joining the Hero Whispers. And now, so excited to say that we're on iHeartRadio, the #1 podcast station in the U.S. Super cool. And we're on there. So go and find Olivia and everyone else that we talk with. Next week, we're going to speak to Christina. And she's actually from the Philippines. And it is going to be another epic conversation. So until then, get out there and slay those dragons.